Welcome to a brand new episode of HYF Unfiltered, episode number 2 to be precise. And 5 years ago, if you would have asked me that Siju, hey, you would host an episode with a bunch of Liverpool fans, the reason being they've won the title for 30 years. As a United fan, I would say no, not possible at all. We will still wait. But here we are in 2020, a year that's been surprising us every day, I would say, not every month. So yeah, I mean, but also the fact that we have a good bunch of people in the team. We don't know about the fans, but well-deserved victory after all. So we have a couple of more than a couple of fans joining us. Now you would ask us why we are doing a Liverpool title win show on a Humans of Indian Football, because we have Humans of Indian Football who are also fans of the club Liverpool FC, sharing their joy with us. And we also have a Roma fan and a Chelsea fan. Both have equal play, in leading up for Liverpool's victory. So we'll hear from them as well. But let me welcome you, Coach Floyd Pinto. Very much privileged to have him. But today he's here as a fan. And we have Aditya Narayan from Chennai, BFC fan. Also writes for Sportskeeda as well. We have Anup Menon, again a BFC fan from Bengaluru. We have Conrad from Goa, an FC Goa fan and quite a pillar there with Blue Pilgrims and stuff like that. We have Akash Sharma, who needs no introduction. I think he's the most famous person on our show right now. We have Ashutosh as well, who will be the silent listener on the show, just like the club that he supports. They're always silent. Moving on. So let's begin with some fun. We also have one more person joining. Hopefully, he will join us soon. And let's begin. So first question would be, how was what the most cliched question after something happened? Kaisa laga? Aapko kaisa lag raha hai? The most cliched question. So I'll start with Coach Floyd. How, I mean, we did see a good season. Yes, it was a good season. You were winning. You won the Champions League. You won the Club World Cup as well. On the verge of winning the title, but the whole lockdown happened and situation stuff for that. But definitely a good team. And how was how are you feeling?
It's been a good feeling for the past 2 years at least. So not just now. It's been building up and building up a lot. I think winning title in the way we did, makes this lockdown feel even more worthwhile now. I feel this lockdown should continue for some more time so that we can enjoy that. And it's just a surreal feeling to see these guys play. Never ever been more proud as a Liverpool supporter, and I feel I support the club. I've been supporting it for a long time right now, but seeing these guys on Twitter and social media, with a lot of posts out there, that's my kind of feed to the club right now. The real feeling.
Great. Let's move to the person who has, is quite evidently flaunting his champion jersey, the Liverpool jersey. I know, Akash, I think even you're wearing, but I can't see it clearly. So before you, I'll come. Yeah, I'll come to Conrad. Conrad, cliched question again. How was it? How are you feeling?
Actually, most of us must be feeling a lot of overwhelmed feeling of winning because 30 years has been quite a long time, and we've seen heartbreaks in almost three seasons: 2008, 2013, 14, and last year when we almost chased Man City down, went to the wire. These three seasons were very heartbreaking for every Liverpool fan, and to finally get it after all this negativity and stuff, I think words are not enough to describe how anyone feels right now.
Great. Let's move to Chennai from Goa. We have Aditya who's joining from there. He's back from Belgium. And how is it? How are you feeling, Aditya? Liverpool has won the title.
Yeah, I think as coach said, yeah, last two seasons been the most fun I've had watching this side. I've supported the club for 15 years now, and the last 2 years have been the most fun I've had watching Liverpool. So last year it was great. We got 97 points and all, but once you got 97 points and didn't win the league, you start asking questions. Is this ever going to happen? And then to come back from that and do it the way we've done it this year has been great. pretty much the only negative was that I'm pretty sure a few of us here on this chat, at least, we're going to go to Anfield on the final day of the season. That won't happen now, but that's pretty much the only thing I can complain about right now as a Liverpool fan.
Before moving on, I think I'll introduce our the guests that joined us just now. Gormangi Singh, who's former international player, turned now a coach. Thank you, Gormangi, for joining us. And yeah, let's just ask you this question. The question I was asking others was: Liverpool has won the title after 30 years, Premier League being precise. The year has been great. I mean, Coach Floyd mentioned that it's not just this particular year, but past 2 years have been great. So. How did you feel? I mean, as a fan waiting for the club to lift the trophy, the Premier League trophy, how were the emotions when it was confirmed that you are the champions of England?
Guys, sorry that I got a little late because I was running for some work since morning. Well, I think we all are very happy. The way how Liverpool have done it. I think 30 years now, and I mean, it was classic. I mean, the way it was just 1 point last season, and I think this is what something I keep talking to even to all my football friends that more than the trophy, to me, honestly, from last season, having like acquiring that number of points, losing the league just to 1 point, and to maintain that, just come back from that disappointment because of 1 point and coming to a new season and maintaining that consistency. I'm just sorry, guys, I'm talking purely from more like a coaching point of view, but for Klopp to do it like consistently again this season, and we won the trophy this season. So I don't know, it's just amazing. I don't know. I'm just trying to understand that how he handled or how he managed the dressing room and how he motivated or to making sure those top professionals to have that hunger, to have that, just look forward to the training session and to keep the consistency on there. So I mean, more than anything, more than the numbers, more than the win. I'm like, I don't know how he does it. Like for the last, I mean, of course he's been doing for the last 4 years, but last 2 years, I mean, I was like, wow, I don't know, just would love to hear more the insight from Klopp, like so. Guys, I'm pretty sure you all are really excited. I think we all are very excited, with the win. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just purely looking from the different perspective.
Yeah, of course, and we wouldn't blame you for looking at it a different perspective. You are definitely donning the hat of the coach. So we'll come to some more technical questions that we have two coaches on the show. Let's move to Bangalore now, Bengaluru. Anup, how is it? How is the whole? You've been quite busy with work, so I'm sure you even took a week off or weekend off, right? If I'm not wrong.
That's okay. That's all part of the game. So for me, it's been a relief, to be honest, that we finally got the monkey off the back, because now with all the titles won, now we can look forward to what's going to happen to this team and to this club next. So now that the Premier League is won, there is no pressure on the team or the coach or even the management to win it. And now they can plan for the future. So the excitement is more now. So, but yeah, relief is more the superior emotion at this point of time.
Great. आकर जी, आपका क्या राय है? कैसा लग रहा है आपको? Unmute कीजिए आप.
I feel very light, like as if some sort of burden that was, nagging back of my brain has lifted over the last 2 decades. What Anup is describing as a relief was, I think last season was the relief wala feeling, when that team had lost the entire league season by 1 point, where you would almost achieve what you would call a perfection. Then you thought they're not going to win any trophy, and then they won the Champions League in Madrid. I think that was more a relief. Thank God something has been won, more than happiness. But this one has been a long sort of sustained level of happiness when you knew that Liverpool are going to win the title. And then of course the lockdown happened, and then suddenly that happiness sort of turned into what next. So eventually it's a bit of a relief and happiness. And I feel I'm a happier person right now than about a few months back. It's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling. You feel lighter and you feel that something has let go, that you can now go back to enjoying football even more, something like that.
Great. The next question, I'll start with you, Akash. What's the early, now we know, I mean, Liverpool is winning a Premier League after 30 years, yes, but what's your early memory as being a fan of the club? Or some of the earliest memories?
Yeah, my earliest memories is basically around Michael Owen. Michael Owen is the reason I have started supporting Liverpool. And I think during the 1998 World Cup, when he scored those goals against the goal against Argentina, and generally so my height right now is fairly above 6 feet, but I was very small in school, and that feeling that to see somebody who's short and taking on the world, that is what attracted me towards Michael Owen. And my earliest memories is from the 2000-2001 season, which is when Michael Owen was scoring goals for fun. And eventually he won the Ballon d'Or that season, and Liverpool also won the treble. Those are my earliest memories. And of course, the relationship with Michael Owen has been a little up and down since. But that's been the earliest memories. Those matches on ESPN Star, and trying to catch what you could when football wasn't so readily available. Right now, probably football is almost too available on our timelines and everything. But those vintage days, that's the earliest memory that I used to follow Michael Owen and then latched on to Liverpool.
Coach Floyd, what is your earliest memories of supporting this club?
I started supporting it because of Steven Gerrard, and I still support it because of Steven Gerrard. And I'm happy that we won it, and I think he has a big part to play in how the club has progressed, throughout. Purely because of the energy, that he brings to the football club, and that he brought through his performances, through those vital goals that he scored, and his leadership. And that's one parallel I draw to Klopp as well. Like most of us have mentioned relief, etc. But the day Klopp took over, I was just very excited because there was a different buzz to the whole football club. There was a different way in which we did things. It was not normal for us to accept mediocrity as soon as Klopp came in. And right now, like Anup mentioned, we won something, and now the club can look to the future. As to previous seasons, it would have been, developing, but now the future looks towards more winning. With Klopp in, it's not going to be like, we are going to develop and keep developing. We're going to win more. So Steven Gerrard was one, and he will always be there at the top of my list as a role model for me in my career. And as at this point of time, Jurgen Klopp is the one that's keeping us together, and it's going to take this club to greater heights.
Great. Aditya, what about you? Your earliest memories supporting the club?
My first memory was, 2005 Champions League final. I didn't support the club at the time. I had a neighbor who was an AC Milan fan, and I was only watching the game to irritate him. I was like, nah, Milan is shit, Liverpool are going to win. And that's how I started. And then once you watch that game, you were not going to support any other club. But yeah, I used to watch international football like in India, you get a lot of England. So I knew who Gerrard was. I knew who some of these players were. And Gerrard was always a big name. And then after the Champions League final in 2005 was when I actually started watching a lot of club football, watching a lot of Liverpool. And yeah, like I said, Steven Gerrard's been a big figure in all of our lives, I'm sure. But I think the first player that I genuinely had an attachment to was Fernando Torres. I was heartbroken when he left. I see Vinay in the Chelsea shirt, which is not very nice to see. But I was heartbroken when Torres left. And but yeah, we've gone past that. We've come through some hard times and champions now. So it's been nice. 15 years, yeah, well more than half my life. So.
Nice. Conrad, what about you? The question is your earliest memory of supporting this club.
Me also, I started supporting this club because of Michael Owen. Scoring goals for fun in 2001 with Emil Heskey, and Liverpool went on to win the Mickey Mouse treble. So that was the time when I started following Liverpool. And of course, after that, I think the earliest memory could be the Champions League finals. I remember I was watching with my brother in the night. It was soon after my board exam, and we were watching the game, and Liverpool was 3-0 down. And my brother, he was like, there's no chance for this team to come back, and he just went to sleep. And I stayed up and watched the whole game. And at the end of the game, I went and woke him up. And it was from that time I started following them really thoroughly.
Great. Anup, what about you? Your earliest memory?
So, 1998, Michael Owen World Cup, England. That's how I started. But there was a cutout in Sports Star. You remember that magazine, right? Sports Star magazine came up with a centerfold poster of Michael Owen in 98, I think. And that had, for some reason, Liverpool dress. I mean, although his exploits were in the World Cup for England, Sports Star published his Liverpool shirt, and I like the color and all of that. And I said, I like the player, I like the color, so this is the color I'll support. So yeah, 1998. That's when I started supporting.
Yeah, I think that's the most sweetest and simplest way to support a club. No? I mean, I like the player, I like the color of the kit, and there you are. Yeah. Now I'm a fan of the club. Gauravangi, what about you? Your earliest memory of supporting the club?
I think it's more to do with Steven Gerrard. I think the way how he lead the team from those, I think, early 2000, and I still clearly remember it was 2005, the Champions League final. I was with Mahindra. I was in Mumbai, and I think I remember like we all sort of together like to watch the game because we got some practice match next day in the morning, and we were like juniors in a sense, like the younger ones in the squad. So we all used to stay like in this colony, like where the Mahindra colony in Mumbai, and I remember like I think 9 of us, we all gather like in just front of TV, and I was like, I just hope Liverpool do it this time. And some of the seniors were, hey, you guys got a game next day in the morning. Why should you guys awake in the night and blah blah. I was like, no, we want to just watch this. And the first half 3-0, I was like, no, so you're not feeling good because you need to get up early in the morning again. You got a practice match, and you're like, So I was like. But I think quite disappointed. I think some of the seniors like just, your Liverpool's done, just get out, like just go home. I remember I was so disappointed, and a few of us is like we went to sleep. I mean, we didn't see the second half, and next day in the morning I was like, wow. I mean, I saw the highlight in the morning. I was like, oh, we did it again. So I mean, those are some stupid like memories about like early memories of early 2000. I think more to do with the Steven Gerrard. I think I just love him in a sense. I play centre back, but but he as a central midfield, the way he did all those dirty work for the team. I mean, doing all those, a lot of things, and not just all those crazy goals that he scores most of the time, many times. For the club, but I think a lot of work he does, which probably at times not easy. But I think he was a true leader. I mean, he was. I think maybe many of the players for many seasons ended up staying maybe because of him. So Steven Gerrard, I think he was a figure to a true leader, I would say. Yeah. So those are my little memories.
Yeah, I mean, true leader, of course. He's gone on to now don the hat of a coach, and he's in fact leading a team. So yeah, I mean, coming to before we move ahead, we have a Roma and a Chelsea fan joining us. So we'll just get some of their inputs. Ajay, you being an AS Roma fan, you always claim to be there. You have given Salah and I think Alisson to Liverpool. And whenever we speak individually, that's the one thing you've been talking about. So what hurts the most?
Those days were good when Liverpool were buying Donny or Aquilani, although Aquilani hurt because, he was a youth product from the Primavera squad. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of hard to see players leaving Roma and winning championships everywhere. Like, the likes of even Rudiger, Emerson have won trophies with Chelsea, Pjanic and Juve. So I think this was forthcoming, this title win, because both are champion players. I'm happy for both the lads. Both Mo Salah and Alisson have been, according to me, two out of the four difference makers in the Liverpool squad. The others being Sadio Mane and Van Dijk. So yeah, obviously happy for the lads, but then yeah, just unhappy that they couldn't stay with us for a longer period of time.
Well, when technically you guys gifted, your club gifted the trophy quite early. I mean, by beating Pep's team. I mean, though yes, I think I don't know whose tweet I saw that the whole behind of all this Liverpool winning, we kind of didn't look at Frank Lampard's genius on the pitch against the Pep. But we'll keep that episode for some time later. But the fact that Chelsea defeated City and that just confirmed the trophy for Liverpool, did that hurt, or were you just happy, more than happy that you beat City?
That's an interesting question. Obviously, you would want to win the title for your own team. But yeah, I mean, Liverpool were doing really well, especially when they started from a very, I think, last 3 years when they were building. We could see when Klopp came in and they were, they made signings of Van Dijk and Alisson, and they started, gelling so well. And now you see, I don't see any weakness in that team. But yeah, on that specific day, it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt, as in, about the fact that Liverpool won, or we gave them the title because we won and we were saving our spot for the top 4, which is with United, and United being one of the teams in that race. But I would say that yeah, on at least half of the coverage, there was only Liverpool celebrations and players coming around and talking, and there wasn't any talk about how Frank Lampard beat City. But besides that, I think I would really like to congratulate Liverpool, and also congratulations to all your supporters. It is really hard to win, but then for a long time, still you all are winning. It started with the Champions League, Club World Cup, and all these things coming together, and now there's such healthy competition as well. And winning the league in the way that they have right now is totally brilliant. So congratulations to them, and I think they totally deserve it. And also, I think all of your celebrations are still ongoing with regards to the title.
Yeah, I mean, just like Coach Floyd mentioned, right, the lockdown can continue and they can continue celebrating it. But moving on with a question to Akash. So before now, I'll have specific questions. I'll term not to everyone so that it doesn't become quite monotonous and boring. But I'll have few questions specific to each people. So Akash, what do you think was the drastic change that happened? I mean, it's not like Liverpool never had players, right? Just the very fact that some of you guys said, you supported the team because of Michael Owen, because of Stevie G, the legend, irrespective of which club he plays. So I think everyone considers him as a great role model out there. And also the coaches that you guys had, Benitez and stuff like that. So what was the drastic change according to you? What do you think was lacking then, which was kind of sorted now?
If you have to look at the bigger picture, it's all about planning. We live in an era where everybody wants results quickly, and thankfully Liverpool got a coach on a long-term basis, and Michael Edwards, who's been the brains behind all the recruitment, and even an owner who's willing to stick it out with in a long-term sense. That is probably the proudest feeling I've had. That in a world where short-termism rules, Liverpool have actually taken a step by step every season. You can see the progress, and you've made a step every season. First, you've qualified for the Europa League final. Then you've qualified for the Champions League. Then you reached the Champions League final. Then you won the Champions League. That season, you lost the Premier League by just 1 point, and then you won the Premier League. You've made changes. You've upgraded your squad accordingly. I think the most. So while everything has been a little, incremental from season 1 of Klopp to season 4, I think for me, Van Dijk coming in was the game changer. I think in general, the coaches here would also agree. And if I look at my school days as well, when you did not have a good defense, you could not focus on scoring. You could not. There was instability right from defense to midfield to striker. You could not. It didn't matter how much you scored if you were always worried about how much you will concede. I think Van Dijk stabilized that. That was the biggest step Liverpool took. I think in January 2018. That was my turning point. For me, the turning point of Klopp's team, who already had a system in place, going from really good to incredible. That was the turning point. And of course, the additions of Alisson came in. And if you look at it, the amazing parts is how well planned. Like you would sign players maybe even in January, maybe even a season before, knowing that these players are going to set you up for the next season. So I think Firmino came in 2015 summer. He took his time to get into the system. He is the most valuable part of the system. Van Dijk came in January. Liverpool could have paid over the top in the previous summer, but they still waited, let it be, because this was the season of consolidation, and the next season was supposed to be the full tilt. So Van Dijk came in January, and before this season, Liverpool made no signing. I don't think anybody has won the league without making a signing. Like, this is the level of planning that was in place, and this just makes me really proud of the achievement itself. Like, it was not an influx of cash altogether. I know people keep on bringing up Alisson plus Van Dijk for 150 million, but that was also only because of Coutinho, and that was also because of Neymar. So thanks to Neymar and Barcelona and PSG on behalf of all the Liverpool fan base, because nobody would be here if that wasn't the chain of events. So Van Dijk is my turning point of Liverpool becoming from good to great. Of course, the original turning point will always be the introduction of Klopp and having a manager you could trust in the long term and you knew about. Yeah.
Anup, coming to you with a similar question, but to ask you in a way that Klopp does not have a history of winning that many titles. I mean, when you look at a longer list, yes, he's done great with Dortmund, and that's how our eyeballs are on him. As he gained attention. But the very fact that he also has too many losses under his belt, like he's always lost in a final, a Champions League final. So when Akash mentions that trust of having Klopp out there as a leader, and that being the main reason, I mean, that's not out for debate. We all know, and it's quite evident. But how did you take this news? Okay, Klopp being your coach, and how was that has impacted the team and the club going forward till this day?
Oh, I mean, there's no question about the impact that he has had. So that's anyway a given. But when he came in, I remember hearing his first press conference when he said that I'm the normal one. So I heard the entire thing, and it was very evident. I mean, we knew about Klopp before and what he had done in Germany. The questions always remained whether he could adapt to English football and all of that. I was quite convinced with the fact that the kind of philosophy that Dortmund had, similar kind of fan bases, the similar emotional football that is played in Liverpool, all of that will match, and his personality and all of that will match. His losses, I don't know. I'm not really qualified to talk about how each successful coach takes losses or not, but I think Mourinho is a good example of how not to take losses, right? Somebody who has seen only winning will not be able to handle losses when it happens. So good that he had those losses. He could motivate his players. He knew how to get out of it. So Dortmund and before that Mainz, all of those experiences were probably helping Liverpool now because he has seen all of it. So yeah, that's my take on him at this point.
Now we're all fans, and we're talking about how thrilled as fans you guys are to support this club, and at the end winning the team, everything going right in your favor. Conrad, I'll come to you. We've seen past, like we mentioned, right? We've had Liverpool has had a good teams in the past and have come close to winning titles, but eventually never happened. But the very fact that even the fans this time were quite, I think, after Klopp, even the fans got on to it supporting no matter what, right? So the Klopps and the relation between Klopp and fan, like we always saw videos of him chanting the chants with the fans and all of that. So how crucial it has been a fan, like as you support as a fan. So how is that has been like Klopp affecting the impact on the fans he's had?
when when Klopp came in, there was this game against Burnley, I think, where we managed to get a draw, and Klopp took the whole crowd right in front of the cop and celebrated as if he won a title, and everyone laughed at us, saying, "What kind of PR work is this?" and stuff. But I think that is the a moment that actually build the trust between Klopp and the fans. And Klopp's philosophy of gegenpressing, it feeds on the crowd support because you need 10 people running behind that ball and trying to get that ball back no matter what. And without the crowd support, it's not very easy to do that. So the crowd, the cheers, the I think everyone is very well in making that happen.
Great. Aditya, even you, I mean, you're a BFC supporter, and it's even BFC is quite evident that the way the coaches are, the players are, the management has been in touch with fans, the engaging of fans. How do you think Klopp managed to do that, or according to you as a fan, how do you think that was? There was a bridge. He bridged the gap between, a coach or a fan.
I think from what I see, Klopp is more like, get the team to play a way of football that the fans want. More than just winning. Look, Liverpool looked great in 2013-14, but it was entertaining. But you knew that way of football, you were not going to go too far because you can't keep winning games like 4-3s and 5-3s and keep that sustainable for a long period of time. But I think the way that Klopp got the fans was, I think, the fact that he had already been at Dortmund, was a very, very similar club, I think, in terms of the ethos and how the club is structured around, the emotion of the local area and stuff. So he'd already been at Dortmund, and I think that really helped him when he came to Liverpool, because obviously huge clubs historically, and for a fact that at Liverpool, the fans are going to be on your side if you show them, whether it is initially or over a period of time. If you show them that you're willing to progress, that you're going to bring something to the club, the fans are automatically on your side. But that doesn't mean that it's not always been the great relationship that okay, overall it has been, but the fans have come in for some criticism from him. I remember his first loss against Crystal Palace, and the fans left around 87, 88 minutes when we were 2-1 down. And he came out in the press conference and said, "I felt alone and I don't want that to ever happen again." I think the fact that he was that honest and never really, never minced his words, I think that's what really made the fans come to his side and say, yeah, if he's telling us that we have to be with him, then let's do this.
Great. I think we have two coaches on the show, right? So we had to take advantage of the fact that we have, yes, they are fans, but they are also in the room. And we already heard Gormangi, speak the technicalities, and as a coach, how he's talking. We also have Coach Floyd. So I'll leave to Ajay. He owns an academy, also a D-licensed coach. So I'll leave those technical questions to him. So Ajay, it's all yours, and the floor is open to Coach Floyd and Gormangi.
Yeah, so I think Coach Floyd already spoke about the mentality, and the shift that Klopp brought about, as compared to the seasons before, when Brendan Rodgers and Rafa Benitez came close to winning the league, but did not go all the way. But I have a couple of questions, some technical questions. So for both the coaches as well as everyone else, in case you guys have a perspective on this. The first one is Liverpool hired Thomas Gronemark, who's a throw-in coach. So how has that helped? Because set pieces is something that's very, very crucial, and there were rumors that he had 54 players or 70 different players from set pieces and from throw-ins. So how has that really helped?
Gormangi, you want to go first?
Yeah, Floyd, please. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, please go ahead, Anu.
Yeah, for me, one thing about of the players, Klopp just seems to get the best out of everybody he works with. And another thing that I've been fascinated by is the attention to detail with everything that happens behind the club. Now, Akash has spoken about the owners and Michael Edwards, etc. But I'm really interested to know about the medical staff. We have a nutritionist who's done really well, like you've mentioned, attention to detail with the throw-in coach. Just get the best out of them, because the intensity with which these guys play week in, week out, and at this point of time, we have almost 2 matches a week. It's amazing the amount of work these guys put in at the back to get these boys out 100% every game. And that is what has impressed me, because he said it, and I think a lot of coaches nowadays say that we can't be experts in everything, but we need to acknowledge the experts around us. We need to surround ourselves with experts and get the best out of them, and they in turn will help you produce what you need to do on the pitch. And with the throw-in coach, everybody mocked it.
Yep.
Everyone were laughing, like we had throw-in coaches. But if you observe each and every throw-in, we create some or the other chance. We create a lot of problems for the opposition. So that attention to detail is just a small speck of what's happening in the background, which I think has played a major part. And Klopp has been the driving force behind each and every decision that the club has made.
My second question is, about two guys who we've surprisingly not spoken about. It's almost 50 minutes, and we haven't spoken about Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson. And both of them, I mean, it's very rare to see both fullbacks being so influential in terms of goals and assists. So again, this question goes out to the coaches, and then of course you guys also can answer the evolution of the modern fullback in the game, especially in this Jurgen Klopp system where they're so influential, and they're, apart from obviously keeping a clean sheet, they've been a pivotal point in attack as well. So where do we see the game going from here in terms of the modern fullback?
Floyd?
Yeah, I think shrewd buys and one really talented youngster. I think he got his chance after Klein sustained a long-term injury. But I think they're going to be Liverpool fullbacks for probably many, many years to come and lift a lot of trophies together. I'm definitely won't be surprised to see Trent Alexander-Arnold given the armband maybe a few years down the line as well. More importantly, what I believe is that yeah, they are there right now, but it's important now for Klopp to add a little bit of competition to these guys, and keep that fire burning within them, because if they can play at that pace throughout the tenure at Liverpool, I think it's going to be very difficult to find someone to replace them. That's what I feel, and definitely no more beers for Robertson, because he doesn't fare well when he has too many beers. We could see that the last game. But you mentioned about the throw-in coach. I saw a couple of videos and training sessions with Pep Linders, and how he's influenced set pieces and introduced different phases in the game. The first phase, the second phase, the third phase. And we need to be prepared for each and every phase of the game. And both our fullbacks are key to those phases, because in possession of the ball, to limit the opposition's transitions, these two guys are there first. On set pieces, they two are the ones who are taking set pieces, and we can't forget that goal against Barcelona. That you can't teach those things. So they have been at the forefront of every tactical aspect which is responsible for this team being so successful. And credit to the selection, credit to the youth academy at Melwood for producing these players. Someone like a Trent Alexander-Arnold, and more to come. Neco Williams coming behind him, I think next season is going to give him a good run in, and that's only going to make Trent better. Robertson was nowhere when he got relegated with Hull and declared bankrupt, and to have him lift the Champions League, the English Premier League, and the Club World Cup goes to show the amount of work that has been done behind. So, uh, I hope these guys continue for a long time, and I hope they bring in some backup to keep that fire burning within them, because we're going to win a lot of trophies with these guys, with Van Dijk especially leading them, and Alisson making them feel safe at the time.
Perfect. Just another question for Anup, Akash, and Conrad. The influence of Jordan Henderson and James Milner, always reliant whenever they're called upon. Not the glamour players in the team. I mean, the attention is more towards Salah, Mane, and even the fullbacks, or even Alisson or Van Dijk. But they're the workhorses, and they've done their jobs. And Jordan Henderson leading by example once, almost on the verge of leaving Liverpool, and to have bounced back and having led by example. What are your thoughts on these two players, the three of you?
I think Henderson is proper captain material. You can see he has that English attitude in him, where that banter kind of attitude, where he's never happy with what is going on. He has that hunger to get on the ball again and again. And his talent may not be that great, but he definitely pulls off at the right moment. You can see, I think his passing range is beautiful. His accuracy is top notch, and there's something probably behind the scenes also where he has a lot of influence on the players. You can see, I think even at the Man City game,
I think we've been losing Conrad.
He was the only player who looked hungry to win the game. The other players looked a bit jaded compared to. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's kind of patchy, but I'll just move on to Akash and Anup. So the same question out to you guys: the influences of Henderson and Milner.
Yeah, Anup, you want to go, or shall I go?
Go ahead.
Good. So it's great to. So if you think about Klopp's system and the kind of sort of strategy he deploys, and especially in his early years, I think Henderson was very crucial to his system. Especially if you reckon his first main star and the guy he most relied on was actually Adam Lallana, and Adam Lallana will leave the club. So another sign how the game has evolved, how Klopp's style of play has evolved and gone incrementally. So Adam Lallana, the likes of Adam Lallana and Henderson were crucial to his all-pressing, crazy running. Even James Milner, the number of turnovers you had. With Henderson, this was the case, but he's not a very proficient footballer where it comes to ball with his ball on his feet, with his feet. But the thing is, he's also underrated in that aspect, because once he was on the verge of leaving the club, he's the one who, I think, if I remember correctly, somebody could tell me if I'm wrong. I remember correctly, he is the one who approached Klopp and asked to be played in a more positive attacking role if he doesn't fit in the Fabinho role, because that's what he was playing, and that wasn't doing Liverpool much good when he was sitting in front of the defense. And then there was that Southampton game away to Southampton, where Liverpool again, they couldn't drop points because City were 1 point ahead, and Salah scored first, and then Henderson had a burst of about 30 minutes, a cameo, which was incredible in his sort of new role. And he even scored the second. That was the making of a new Henderson. He suddenly became a person who's not sitting in front of the defense, but actually playing right of center midfield, and he could go up and down. So it was incredible, because he was supposed to leave. He was almost given an indication that he's not required, and he's pulled that back, and now he's lifting every single trophy, and he's probably the most successful in terms of the trophy, the variety of trophies. He is the most successful Liverpool captain, and he will now go down as a legend because it's been 30 years since anybody has lifted the title, and in about a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, he's going to lift the Premier League title. So with regards to Henderson, that has been really good. With regards to James Milner, he's been a really reliable addition. I love these kind of players who know they're going to play second fiddle after a while, but they stick around. Milner has probably played 5 different positions, if I'm correct: right wing, left wing, centre back. Sorry, it's not centre back. Right back, left back, centre mid, left mid, right mid. He's been there every time Liverpool needs him. Even if you remember in the Barcelona game, the comeback game, Robertson was substituted at halftime. James Milner became left back, and he produced the goods there. Like, it's such a, and even from a penalty taking point of view, they used to come to a point and who's going to take the penalties after Steven Gerrard left. James Milner was the prime candidate, absolutely cool under pressure. And I recently also read, which was very surprising to me, Milner has been with Leeds and Manchester City for a long time, but I think he's played the most number of minutes now with Liverpool. So clearly he's been a great a reliable figure for Klopp to fall back on. And that's been it. Now he's going to sort of be zoned out. But I think there are rumors or there are talks around him getting a coaching role because he's such a sensible head sometime in the future. Let's see how that pans out.
Interesting. Anoop, your thoughts?
Yeah, since we are on the topic of Milner, I mean, we'll attribute this to Klopp also because the kind of collection of people, the personalities that he gets in the team, that's important. So the Milners, the Hendersons are the ones who, the Lallanas, right? So people with the right attitude come into the club if Klopp is helming it, right? So he won't buy the players who might throw a tantrum, stuff like that. Coming to Henderson has been the biggest disappointment for me. I mean, when he came in to Liverpool, I thought I loved him. I still do. But I thought he's a wonderful player. I thought he's very creative. He can be the next Gerrard. I don't know what happened. The fact that I personally thought he had a great shot. I mean, he could take long distance shots for goals. He could pick passes, all of that. It's been so disappointing to see his degeneration as a player, as a creative player, and emergence as a linchpin in the team. So, testament to himself that he has adapted his game and all of that. But personally, I would have loved to see Henderson more in the attacking role, which he had come in from Southampton for. So, but great. I mean, his Henderson shuffle is something which is legendary. I think he will get a picture on the walls of Anfield somewhere soon. So yeah, both of them I attribute to their personalities, and again, testament to the club's hiring.
Good stuff, guys. Thank you so much. I'm done with my questions, Sejo. So the torch is back to you now.
Yeah, I mean, I think this being a show, probably many would think this is quite dry and quite boring. But let me tell you, this is probably the only episode where you'll have such because these guys are not just fans. They're not just supporting any club, or they're quite brainy people. They're fans with brains, I would say. So you will definitely hear some intellectual stuff as well, the technicalities, the in-depth discussion about not just supporting the club, but the fact that how are they doing on pitch, how is the back end scene and stuff like that. So it's quite an informative podcast, a fan podcast. That's how, and it's brilliant for me. Somebody who loves to hear theory stuff, theoretical stuff. So every fan out there who just wants fan stuff can probably move on. But this is
go to some other content creators.
Yeah. Again, let's just speak for ourselves. For those who are not here, we won't speak about them. I think we have Vinay who has a couple of questions as well. So over to you, Vinay. Before I ask Vinay to take over, just want to say that unfortunately Aditya won't be able to join us. Power cut in his place. So yeah, just want to tell that to our listeners and viewers in case you thought where is one more person was there and he's missing. So we'll have him soon for our future shows. So Vinay, over to you.
Yeah, so I had this question where it comes to the concept of what you have to keep going. You have to keep on going in the next season. You're never even if I personally, when I look at Liverpool, I don't see many weaknesses at all in that team. Even in terms of depth, it's quite decent. So, starting with, I would like to know the thoughts of the coaches first and then followed by everyone else. The question is that, where do you see are the weak points of Liverpool right now in this setup? And also, where can they improve? Or, if there is some signing they can make, or, or any specific, in terms of like, say, set pieces or attacking or defending, because right now they can defend, they can keep clean sheets, they can attack, score goals. Their midfield is also perfect. So, where can they take it, even to the higher levels? So, what changes can be made, or who can come in to take them to that next level?
A partner for Van Dijk, high priority. I believe, we have Joe Gomez, but I'm talking about when it comes to crunch time, like, knockout phases, finals, that kind of like the games against the top teams. We need, so for that reason, I think we need a partner for Van Dijk, someone who can be stable throughout the season. And in the process, we can develop Joe Gomez because he's pretty versatile across the back four. So like I was saying, a backup for Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. Gomez can play anywhere on the back line. So I think a high priority would be a partner for Van Dijk, and finding those shrewd acquisitions to be a backup for the front three. So in case any one of them get injured for a long period of time, thankfully the African Cup of Nations is postponed, so we have them for the next season. So situations like that where you can have someone come in and consistently perform at that level, or at least complement the players that they're replacing. So a partner for Van Dijk is priority number one as far as I'm concerned, and finding those shrewd signings that can be a backup for the front three.
Coach Gauramange, what would you like to say about that? Would you agree with that? Like, do you have any more?
I mean, I think it was a well spot on from Floyd. I mean, I completely agree. The partner for Van Dijk, I think that will bring definitely more stability. It's of course that I think the team has been really great for the last couple of years. But saying that again, priority, I think I completely go with Floyd. Because that's, I think, one area, because it was, I think, Joe Gomez was out for a few months, and I think Van Dijk was playing a number of games with different partners, and I think somehow we manage it. But the thing is, I think that in the long run probably might not help also. So probably we need one more center back, steady center back who can definitely help Van Dijk. At the same time, give Joe Gomez more time to grow. And because he has the ace on his side, and again, the backup for the back three definitely, because people always keep talking about Firmino. I mean, for me, I think he does all the dirty works, but sometimes he needs goals, and sometimes people started to put, I think, a lot of pressure on him. I don't know how we manage it also, and people of course, Mane and Salah has been amazing so far, but sometimes maybe if one, again, back to what Floyd said, one is out of injury for long term, then we need a backup there. I think that's two areas where, of course, you need to have. I think the younger boys are there as well for the left full back, right full back. Even the goalkeeping, I think it's okay. So I think that's a two priority. Even for me, I completely agree. I think it was great. I think from Floyd that I think you really, I think, gets both the area that is. Even I
Yeah, for sure, we won't be going back to AS Roma for that. We don't want to.
Yeah, you can have Chris Smalling. Actually, he'll be a good centre back. And he's been brilliant for us. And I think him playing for Liverpool would be the ultimate slap towards Man United. Definitely not Zaniolo. Zaniolo की तरफ देखना नहीं है. Zaniolo नहीं मिलने वाला तुमको.
Yeah, that was that for, if, even from an outside view, like if since I'm not a Liverpool fan, even I see that as a team, and I see that the Van Dijk does need a partner, and if especially in terms of Firmino, because he plays such a unique role where it's exceptional. He's everywhere, and it's like because of him, even the front line takes like right from the front to the back line, like everybody can win the ball back, which is like absolutely incredible. So would you all like to add anything, Anup, Akarsh, or Conrad to that? Do you all have any other wishful signings or something?
Akarsh, Zaniolo नहीं बोलना. नहीं मिल रहा है.
हाँ, तुम्हारा ट्विटर अकाउंट ही खत्म हो जाएगा ना, उसी के तो पोस्ट होते हैं every second. That goal, I think he's the one, right? That one goal where he chipped, where he put all the defenders on the...
That was his first goal for the club, yeah.
Yeah. So Liverpool, I guess it's not as rosy as it seems to the outside world, because Liverpool's drop in depth after first 15 players or the first 11 players, well, I'll extend it to first 15. It's quite sharp. Liverpool have been lucky with sort of not being burdened by so many injuries. Van Dijk has, I think, played all but a few minutes since he's joined. He's not been injured. Salah, aside from that Real Madrid game, I think he's not been injured as such. And these players seem to be quite fit. They don't get injured very easily. But otherwise, the front three ke baad jo drop hai, it's straight to Origi. And Origi is a different creature altogether. When you don't expect him to do anything, then he does something. And when you expect him ki kuch karega, then kuch karta hi nahi hai wo. And Minamino has come probably as a backup for Firmino, because he can play a similar role. So there are issues that need to be dealt with. We don't have a left back aside from Robertson. Milner usually plays there, and obviously I don't think next season he's going to cut there. He can't play regularly in that spot. Even at right back, only Milner steps in or Joe Gomez steps in, and he looks completely out of place. We have Nico Williams, who's a youngster, and he's still developing. So, aside from the first 11, there is still a dip. Liverpool have been fairly lucky in terms of injuries, but Liverpool have also planned it better. You sacrifice the Carling Cup, you sacrifice the FA Cup. You can laugh all you want at that, but that's the thing. The goal was always the Premier League and the Champions League. And this season, it was really the Premier League. So abhi काफी है, there are things to be added. Midfield seems to be strong, except nobody knows the best combination yet. Whether it's Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson, or should Keita step in? Where does Oxlade-Chamberlain play? Sometimes he comes on the right wing and plays absolutely horrifically. Even against Man City, he was pretty bad. But sometimes he drives through the center of midfield, and you see him scoring screamers and being at the heart of the action, being very direct, a la Steven Gerrard actually. So there are things that Liverpool get away with because of the system and the way they play, because of the pressing, the amount of chances created. Even the chances created have often been through the fullbacks. They've been the greatest source of creativity for Liverpool. So it's a little weird system. I think the system is how Liverpool get away with it, and how the team as a whole plays, because it fits in your Milners and everyone. But it'll be difficult. First of all, it'll always be difficult for a club like Liverpool to compete on all four fronts. वो तो होगा ही नहीं. They'll have to sacrifice one or the other. That's something only Man City can do. Compete on all fronts and challenge for all the trophies. But there is a little. There will be an issue. It's not as rosy as everybody seems. There seems to be all kinds of rumors. Thiago Alcantara seems to be the current rumor, which will be like a huge signing. I mean, he is probably the top 3 midfielder in the world today, in control of possession. And again, I think Liverpool are trying to even develop a game, move towards something where they control possession more and more. This is where I was talking about moving from an Adam Lallana and a Jordan Henderson counter-attacking, all guns blazing, to somewhere you hold possession, which was where Fabinho came in, and then Wijnaldum came in, and now there seems to be some rumors or some sort of rumors circling around Thiago Alcantara. So let's see how that goes. But there is stuff to be done, because Naby Keita hasn't worked out fully yet, It seems Klopp isn't happy with him. He would have been a great sort of backup or great, starting 11 player. So essentially, I'm making a point that it's not as rosy as what it seems from the outside, and some things can fall apart easily if one or two key positions sort of get injured. Over to Anup.
Anup, you're unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. I think all of it is covered. I don't have anything specific to add.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I do have one question though, if the others, I've always had a belief that the fullbacks are able to bomb forward because there is the Wijnaldums and the Hendersons who are holding those spaces, right? So the moment you go for more creative midfielders, be it a Thiago or be it a Keita or even Ox, the gaps open up. So if you have your Trents and your Robertsons up ahead, and then you just have your center backs behind, and the whole gaps open up, which is what gets exploited by a lot of these cities or the Barças or the ones who are very good on the ball. So I don't know how we'll manage that.
Conrad, do you want to add to any of that? I hope you're still there.
No, Anup, as far as this, what you've mentioned, like I spoke about the assistant Pep Linders working on the phases, different kind of phases. That attention to detail is there so much that players like Henderson, Wijnaldum, Fabinho, Keita, all of these guys who are playing have really good engines in them. Even Keita is a really creative player, but he has a really good engine in him. It's unfortunate that he keeps getting injured now and then. But the attention to detail that is there at the coaching level is why I'm really confident that the players that they sign are going to know exactly what they're supposed to do at what point of time. That I have more confidence in the coaching staff rather than the players, because I know if they sign someone, they really mean it. If they let go of someone, it means they really think, now this guy is past the post.
True.
Well, I mean, that's exactly how he spoke like a coach, right? I mean, knowing the fact that the belief and trust in the coach is what happens, the rest we'll see. I think moving on, we'll end very soon, but let's end on a fun note. Anup, I'll run the questions quickly through to all of you all. Anup, you're one of the favorite best moment since Klopp has come. So let's combine both the seasons that he's been there and all the trophies, won, not won, whatever moments. But your favorite moment from since Klopp has joined, but you can't choose winning the Premier League. Apart from that, anything else? You're on mute.
It's very easy for me because that's the Champions League final that we lost. The next day, it's Klopp celebrating with the fans and singing. That's my favorite moment when we lost to Madrid and celebrated the next day. I was, I stood up and saluted that day. That's my favorite Klopp moment.
Gormangi, what about you? Your favorite moment from the season since Klopp has joined Liverpool? You can't choose Premier League title.
The Champions League title, then I think the Liverpool street, when they, everyone was there, watching the team bus passing through the city. I think probably, I don't know how many million the Liverpool city is, but the place I'm talking about. But yeah, it was amazing. I think we all can just fast back very quickly about that. I mean, yeah, it was amazing, the players and the bus. I mean, that's something that you play for, right? I mean, you walk through the season, and when you win it, and when you see that it's not just a team that is celebrating, but when the entire city is waiting for you, and those are something that I think only the players can do it. I think we as fans from far away can only look and sort of take some inspiration from there. But I mean, try to imagine, but it must be amazing, I'm pretty sure.
Conrad, are you still there with us? What's your favorite moment since Klopp has joined?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, mine would be, I think, in November, I went to Liverpool and I got to see the Liverpool versus Man City game. where Liverpool hammered them 3-1. And as a fan, that would be one of my most favorite moments of the season.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, watching your favorite club play live is surreal. Coach Floyd, your favorite moment?
My favorite moments would be every time Klopp goes for a press conference, be it pre-match or post-match. Absolutely epic. I look forward to each and every press conference. And as far as the picture of Klopp is concerned, of him sitting on top of the bus, well, that's one. If I think about Klopp, it's about that picture comes to mind, you know. But his press conferences are absolutely epic. Even the way he controlled the press conference post the Man City game the day before, uh, he's just he just protects everybody at the club, and he protects the players, and that's what I like. And it's very entertaining. Entertaining.
Akash, what about you? Your favorite moment?
Yeah, my off-the-field favorite moment is the same as the Anoop one, where I really can't believe how somebody can be so relentlessly positive about everything. Liverpool lost the title, lost the Champions League final in Kiev. The next morning, you wake up because I was in Kiev, so it went from complete madness to complete silence after the match. I was at the stadium, and the next day when you wake up and you see Klopp sort of with his assistant coach and a couple of German friends, there was a video of him, singing Madrid had all the luck and we'll bring it back to Liverpool. We saw the European Cup. That was also important to remember, that we saw the European Cup because that was not expected. Like Liverpool reached the final. You saw the European Cup within an arm's distance. So that was my off the field moment. On the field it'll be the UEFA Super Cup for me because I was there, and so you know how after the Barcelona game all the players lined up and sang "You Will Never Walk Alone" with the fans in front of the Kop, and we were all here watching it on TV, and you couldn't believe what was happening. It was so surreal. And then when I went to the UEFA Super Cup, I finally saw Liverpool lift a European title. And because I was in the Liverpool end, and the players again lined up in front of us, everyone, and sang "You Will Never Walk Alone." I think I was almost in tears, different kind of tears. Kiev was different kind of tears, and this was different kind of tears because you saw that happening, what you saw on television a few months ago. So that was my favorite moment, even though in the bigger scheme of things, UEFA Super Cup doesn't mean anything. But I think that entire trip was incredible in Istanbul, and to top it off with every single player and even Klopp singing right in front of us. And I was just 3 or 4 rows into the stand, so I was right there. So that's my personal favorite.
Great. Since you mentioned Istanbul, there was a question actually which we missed out on. What is sweeter, the win at Istanbul or the Premier League title after 30 years? Coach Floyd?
Without a shadow of a doubt, the league title. I can't even compare right now. It's a league title. We've been waiting so long for it, and it's there. It's there right now. I can't wait. And some good news for Vinay. I think these guys have front row seats to watch us lift the title at Anfield. What else could you want as return for beating Manchester City and handing us the title? So that's just the only feeling right now, the only picture in my mind right now.
Yeah. Anup, are you on the same page?
Yeah, the league.
Akash?
Same, the league.
Conrad?
I think it's sorry. Let me just. It's also because of how we've grown up. I think around us there have been Manchester United fans all around us.
Right over here.
Then Siju, of course. Then Chelsea fans were there as well. You know, the only question you would always get is, when was the last time you won the league? It's time to reset those counters. Liverpool are on 0, Man City are on 1, Manchester United are on 7, Chelsea are on 3, Arsenal I don't even remember, Tottenham are, God knows when. The Premier League is 0, of course, but the league title I don't even remember. I think it's 50, 70 years ago. So the resetting of that timer, that question going away, is a huge thing for all of us, especially supporters in India who've grown up, colleges and schools having hordes of Manchester United fans. So that's that.
Akash, when do you think United will win the league again?
I'm not jinxing. I'm not jinxing anybody.
Conrad, what about you? Are you on the same page as these three gentlemen?
Yeah, of course, the league. I think we've been a European royalty for quite some time now. So no one in Europe that comes close to us. So yeah, the league.
Gormangi, what about you? So we have all of them choosing
the
the league
league.
title over what happened in this
Yeah,
time.
even the league. I think 30 years is it's a long time. Finally got.
We don't have to say next year's are you?
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, no more chance of people saying, "Arey, TPG slip ho gaya," and all of that, especially from other fans.
Generally, Man
Well, I've
United
never
fans.
said
Huh?
that.
General Man United fans.
No, we are taking pleasure
But
in
all
this
of
league
them.
also because of the way the others are reacting to it, and the way it is making others feel is also giving us some sadistic pleasure out of it.
I'm sure.
True. I think I believe.
Sorry, Siju would know, right? As a Manchester United fan, since December, you've already conceded that Liverpool will win the league. In January, you were cheering on the coronavirus to spread so that the league goes. And in fact, March, April, May, you were all null and void, back to absolutely nothing. So it's been a great joy to even give other fans some hope and then completely take it away.
Yes, well, absolutely. Moving on with, I think Akash had mentioned this tweet that you're in such a good mood that I don't want to trash any other fans right after the title that they won. I also personally feel right. I just can't personally. Let me just talk about myself, being a United fan or not. You just can't dislike Klopp, the person that he is. Whatever he does, just like Coach Floyd mentioned, right? Whatever happens post-match scenes at the press conference, you just gotta love this guy. He's just like really good. I think comic timing. I don't know. He's just a good sense of humor and stuff like that. Hopefully, since Coach Floyd mentioned, I think he's taking good notes from how to be on the press conference. Hopefully, we'll see some fun press conferences from him as well. So I think I'll look forward to that.
I just hope in India more people come up for the press conferences because usually the coach is the only one there.
So that's the best part, right? Anyway, I think we'll ending the show on this tweet done by Akash. Basically, what Peter Drury commented towards the end of the match after Liverpool got thrashed by Man City 4-0, saying that, well, Manchester City win the night as overwhelmingly as Liverpool have won the year. So we can all keep saying about a lot of things, but after all, this is Liverpool's year and they have done it. And they've got the bragging rights. So congratulations to you guys. Thank you so much for joining on the show. Like I said, it's a balance of fun, balance of fandom there, but a bit of technical and a bit of information also out there. Like we say, not just fans, but fans with brains. So thank you, Anup. Thank you, Akash. Thank you, Gormangi. Thank you, Conrad. And thank you, Floyd Pinto. Also, thanks to Aditya. Well, thank you, Akash. That pushes me, motivates me, I would say, from a Liverpool fan. Thank you once again. Like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for more such content, do click hit the bell icon. I'm sorry for blabbering all this while I'm still getting used to speaking on a podcast, and I'll get there soon. Bring my ace game. To reply to one of the comments we had in the past episode, I hope I don't look sleepy today, like I did in the last episode. So thank you so much once again, gentlemen. It was a pleasure hosting you guys. Hopefully we'll have you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
We'll have you again on the show.
I thought you were going to say thank you for Werner, but okay, fine.
we shall see. Now next season is going to be fun.
Great, good stuff, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
and
guys.
Stay tuned for such awesome content only on HRF Unfiltered. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
You'll never walk alone.
Yeah, you'll never walk alone.
Never listen alone.